MTN News, you're watching Montana This Morning.
It may not be $600 a week, but Montanans who are still out of work due to the pandemic are already getting a boost in unemployment payments. Coming up, learn where the money is coming from and why the governor says there is not time to wait on Congress to act. And see where and how MSU is ramping up testing for students who have COVID-19 symptoms. Just ahead, learn the new location for students to get tested. Just about 6:30 now this Friday morning. Chet, so far I just stepped out with you just a brief moment there. The wind seems a little bit on the cooler side, but the skies look really good.
And it stepped up. It was pretty calm here about a half hour ago. Now we're talking about winds 15, 16 miles an hour in this area. National Weather Service upgrading that fire weather watch. We'll have more on that. Outside though, it is cool, and then you add the wind to it. You see temperatures in the 40s and 50s. You add a little breeze to that. That does bring the temperature down a little bit. Right now, West Yellowstone right at the freezing mark. Here's your planner for today, though. We will get up into the 80s with lots of sunshine for actually the next couple of days. Well, that sunshine will linger. Changes coming Sunday and then Monday. We'll have details of all of that from the patio in about 10 minutes.
All right, thanks, Chet. Montana has started issuing new unemployment benefits. Now, it's made possible through an executive order by President Trump. Governor Bullock says Montanans receiving unemployment insurance will get an extra $400 a week from the Lost Wages Assistance Program. Montana is one of a handful of states to request the benefits from the federal government, and the program issued $31 million this week. The governor says the state took advantage of the program because many Montanans cannot afford to wait until Congress comes up with an alternative solution.
We didn't wait to act because we know that these are greatly needed benefits that put money in the pockets of Montanans and ensure that they can continue taking care of their families during this difficult time.
Governor Bullock also addressed the new school year and the frustrations many families are experiencing. Now, the state left the control of sporting events and attendance in the hands of local governments. Bullock urges Montanans to work constructively and respectfully with their local public health and school officials as the school year progresses. Now, the Republican National Convention is now over with the president accepting the nomination from the White House last night. So how did the president respond to critics who say he shouldn't be in the White House? Our Joe St. George is in Washington with more.
To the hills of Tennessee.
This morning, the Republican National Convention is over, but not before President Trump made it official.
I profoundly accept this nomination for President of the United States.
The president committing again to a vaccine and, not surprisingly, attacking Joe Biden in the process.
We'll produce a vaccine before the end of the year, or maybe even sooner. Joe Biden's plan is not a solution to the virus, but rather it's a surrender to the virus.
President Trump spending much of his 70-minute address going after the Democratic nominee and the Democratic Party, who attacked the president for using the White House as a backdrop to deliver a political speech, revising history, and doing so with little social distancing.
But I'll say it differently. The fact is, we're here and they're not. How can the Democrat Party ask to lead our country when it spends so much time tearing down our country? That I have done more for the African American community than any president since Abraham Lincoln.
Fireworks concluding the convention as we now wait for the first polls to come out to see if these virtual conventions move the needle for either candidate.
Our nation's capital this morning, though, is transitioning very quickly from the RNC to the March on Washington, the 57th anniversary of Martin Luther King's famous march. It was organized following the death of George Floyd. It's expected to take on a new tone following the recent events in Wisconsin. In Washington, I'm Joe St. George.
Now, Montana State University opened a new diagnostic COVID testing site for all MSU students who are showing symptoms. The new site is located near the football stadium and available to test symptomatic students without an appointment or referral. The testing is free, and in addition to testing already available to students through the university's health partners on campus. With the additional testing, officials at MSU say they're being realistic about results, and in the case of a large number of positive results, they are ready to make whatever changes that will be necessary.
Since the beginning of the pandemic is ask our faculty members to plan into their courses for this fall the flexibility to adapt. We have to consider a lot of other factors too. So there's no threshold number. There's no one point at which we can say this is going to happen.
Funding for the additional testing was made possible through the CARES Act. Students were not financially affected. Now, the primary role of the Bozeman School Foundation is to work to help the districts and students and staffs. Now, helping find and fund needed classroom supplies has been one of the group's main activities. As Chet Lehman recently found out, thanks to the COVID-19 pandemic, classroom supplies involve a few more things this year, so the foundation shifted gears.
Well, good morning. We're outside the Wilson School this morning. Special guest joining us this morning, Judy Slate, the Executive Director of the Bozeman Schools Foundation. You've got a cool project going on right now, Operation Healthy Schools. It's a little different than anything you've done here before. Let's talk about it.
It is generally, at the foundation, we deal with curriculum, scholarships, things like that. But we decided to raise money to buy masks, non-alcoholics, hand sanitizer, and cleaning wipes, just because we know that our schools are really going to need that when we go back in a couple weeks.
Yeah, that's one of those things. As school supplies, you and I have talked about this many times over the years about pencils and notebooks and backpacks and things like that. This is 2020, and we're going to change the rules a little bit. The things that you're talking about are essential, necessary tools for these classrooms, aren't they?
They are. I mean, everything is going to be different going back. I mean, look at you and I standing so far apart. I wanted to be closer to you.
I know, right?
But so the kids are going to have to go to school with masks, and they're little kids, and even into high school, they're going to lose their masks. They're going to have to be so many masks to make sure these kids are always going to have them. They're going to be cleaning all the time. There's going to be need for the hand sanitizer all the time. I mean, think about just how often we use it, and now we're going to try to keep these schools as clean and as safe as possible, with the goal being for Bozeman kids to be back in school at 5 days a week as soon as possible.
The other aspect of this that it's kind of ancillary when you're raising notebooks and things like that for students, it benefits the teachers. This one, Operation Healthy Schools, is directly beneficial to teachers too.
It is, and I think, Providence Mental Health reached out to us and said, we know you're doing this fundraiser, and we don't want the teachers to be left behind. And they really wanted to focus on the teachers and keeping the teachers healthy and safe, because we know a lot of teachers are scared. They have a lot of fear going back into the classroom with all of those kids, and where social distancing might not always happen. And so Providence is donating 1 cloth masks for every one of our teachers, which is about 550 teachers in the classrooms. And then they're going to also donate a filter to go with it. So that's awesome. How
does this work? How can we become involved? We want to help you. Operation Healthy Schools is a great project. How do you become involved?
Well, we are really asking for money. It's a lot cleaner for us to get money and just drop it over to the school district, and then they can buy the supplies that they need. And keep in mind, the school district has already bought so much of this stuff. We just want to make sure they don't run out. And so money is the best. As a fundraiser, we raise money, give money to the schools, and they buy the supplies. But if you donate masks and hand sanitizer and wipes, we won't turn it away. We'll take everything and make sure that it gets to the right place.
Perfect. Again, Judy Slate joining us this morning. Operation Healthy Schools, the 2020 fundraiser for the Bozeman Schools Foundation. Judy, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Chad.
We're going to take a quick break. Much more Montana this morning, right after this.
Well, and if you'd like to help, head over to our website for a link to the Operation Healthy Schools fundraiser. It's an interesting topic.
Yeah, and Judy wants to make it clear that the school has done a great job. The schools themselves have done a great job getting those masks. It's that, like she mentioned, little kids lose things. And then what are you going to do? You have to have the mask. You leave it on, all those kind of things. So that's what they're doing with this, and every little bit helps along the way, especially the hand sanitizer. We're going through it here, just a few of us that are in this building. So
like everything else, it must be sustained.
Absolutely. So shifting from notebooks and backpacks to hand sanitizers and masks. Welcome to 2020.
Welcome to 2020, indeed.
There we go.
6:38 now this morning, and by now you've heard the warnings about hand sanitizer made from the wrong kind of alcohol that can hurt or even kill you. Now there's a new warning about the kind of packaging some hand sanitizers are using. We'll explain the dangers after the break, but first, here's what to expect at 7 on CBS This Morning.
Good morning ahead on CBS This Morning. Hurricane Laura has left the central Gulf Coast devastated. Tony leads our coverage in Louisiana. We'll show you the destruction that's left nearly 1 million homes and businesses without power. Plus, hear from those impacted by the deadly storm. Also, professional athletes continue to make their voices heard in response to the police shooting of Jacob Blake. We'll talk with basketball players speaking out about the growing movement for justice. And Katy Perry is a new mom who just released a new album. In a network exclusive, Gayle sat down with the pop star while she was still pregnant for a candid conversation about music, mental health, and motherhood. All that coming up when we see you at 7.